Hey, and welcome back to the Motherhood Unplugged podcast. I'm your host, Tatiana, and today I have Natasha and Zain with me. We'll be discussing all things positive parenting, learning through play, learning brain development. But before we get into it, I'd just like to thank Ashley Furniture Home Store for sponsoring this podcast. Natasha and Zain, thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited to have you on this podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, and I think just even before we introduce ourselves, the one thing I wanted to say, the reason I really wanted you both on here was because on Instagram, having social media, it's really difficult to navigate a space as a mom, because I feel like there's so much information out there and there's just so much comparison. Am I doing the right thing? Am I a good mom, etc.? And I think the way in which I want to raise my kids is in a specific way, and I follow you both because you just really inspire me and motivate me and you keep reminding me on why I am doing what I'm doing, because parenting is hard. Positive parenting, and it's hard, and that every day I just want to explode. Yeah. And I just don't want to traumatize my kids. And I just think, your approach to parenting and education, it really motivates me and keeps me on track with my parenting. So thank you so much for just what you do and the spaces you provide.
No, thank you.
And likewise, because I think we both are always on your page going, what is she doing today? What are the kids up to?
Yeah.
So we love what you're doing too.
Thank you so much. Maybe you can introduce yourselves a little bit and then we can get into it for those who don't know what you do.
All right.
Yeah.
Want to go first?
You first.
Okay. So I work with kids as a coach. I work with kids through youth workshops, but predominantly now I'm focusing on teacher training, because as I was coaching kids, I was like, oh my God, they're going through so much, but they're spending so much time in school, the most time with their teachers. So if I can help teachers understand the science of well-being, the principles of coaching, then hopefully we can get to a point where we're not really being reactive with our kids, but we're being proactive and equipping them with well-being skills to help them, because they're going to face challenges. You and I were talking earlier.
Yeah.
Whether you're 2 years old or 12 or 22, being a kid is hard. So how do we give them the tools that they need to sort of thrive?
Amazing.
Yeah. I'm usually spending time with 0 to 5-year-olds, so this is pretty nice.
Adult time.
Yes, adult time, and I'm not covered in Play-Doh, so it's special. But I predominantly work with families and kids below 10 years old, and the whole idea is to create a positive impact in African families in specific, and we want to create a sort of community, because we're not living in villages anymore. Like I said, parenting is super difficult, and being a child is also difficult. So how do we support each other? So Play Academy basically creates opportunities for meaningful interactions. We host play dates, we even for adults as well, workshops and trainings and things like that. Yeah.
Amazing. So Natasha, we'll start with you. Maybe you can tell us why, what is positive education, and how has that played a role in your parenting, as you're a mom of one?
Yes.
A
2-year-old.
A 2-year-old. So maybe you can share a little bit about that.
So positive education comes from the science of positive psychology, which is basically the study of understanding what helps us thrive, what helps us flourish, and then trying to promote those things for individuals and communities. And positive education is all about saying, well, I want to bring wellness to the school, but not just for the students. I want to bring it in for the teachers, the parents, the administrators, because we all need to be speaking the same language.
Yeah.
And what we know is that when we teach well-being skills like kindness, empathy, communication skills, assertiveness, all those things, not necessarily by having classes on them, but infusing them into whatever curriculum we're doing, kids do better at school. They're happier, they perform better academically. And if the teachers are sort of invested in their own well-being, they're going to be invested in their students' well-being as well.
Yeah.
So in a nutshell, that's what it is.
Okay.
In terms of how it's impacted my parenting journey, I think it's made me look at Adam as a person on his own.
Yeah.
He's not a blank slate. He's not someone for me to just put all my biases into, all my opinions. It's really made me recognize that, okay, he's come into this world and he doesn't really know what's going on. He relies on me for his survival, but he is his own person.
Amazing, yeah.
And then this idea to come from a place of nurturing and love and respect, even if he is just 2 years old. And then I think more than anything, this idea that I am going to mess him up, I'm going to make mistakes, and it's fine. I'll learn along the way. I will learn to repair with him. And depending on what phase of life he's in, depending on what phase of life I'm in, we'll grow together.
Yeah.
I don't have to have all the answers figured out just because I'm the mom. You know, I'm growing as a mom too. I've never done this before.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting what you're saying about them not being a blank slate, because I think even for me, that's something I've really had to work on. And in fact, I was working on that with Dr. Carol like all of last year. And one of the activities she gave me was, you know, write down who your child is and not who you want them to be. Because I think often as parents, like we have all these expectations of our kids, and maybe we were a certain way when we were kids and we want to see that in our kids. For example, I was telling Dr. Carl, like I was a big sports player, so I really want them to be very big onto sports. But obviously my kids are very different, and just accepting them for who they are, and maybe even like some of their temperament or their characteristics. Like sometimes I'm just like, oh, I wish, you know, but actually I love my kids for who they are, and sometimes maybe I get warped by society's view of what children should be, or like even my expectations. So yeah, I think that's a really interesting topic of just like letting go of the expectations you have of your kids and letting them be who they are, and just like kind of supporting them grow in that space has been game changing for me specifically. But yeah, and Zain, you know, learning through play, I think that's also a huge concept that I'd love to discuss, because I think even here in Kenya, like I think you mentioned specifically with African households, yeah, I think here in Kenya, like we want our kids to grow up so quickly. I can't speak for the rest of the world, but I was brought up here. We want our kids to be like this independent, like we want them to be a certain way by 5, and you know, we're putting them in schools super early, which, you know, okay, it could be very beneficial, but I feel like the way in which we view things is we want them to be mature very quickly, and we don't give them that space to be who they are and just be kids. So maybe you can talk more on what is learning through play, why is it important to you, and how has it impacted your parenting?
Yeah, I think learning through play, and as an extension of the positive psychology side of it, is just freeing our kids from our expectations. Because I think most of the time their achievements, how they behave and everything has been framed in such a way that it's a reflection of our parenting. So being able to be playful and understand where they are in their development, one, checks me to make sure that I'm not putting any pressure on them that's unnecessary, because I find it really hard for kids right now who are 3 years old. We want them to start writing and reading when all the science tells us they're simply not ready. So for me, focusing on play is trying to create a more holistic approach for my kids, because that's exactly how they learn everything about the world. So the same way we have work, play is what is considered the work of a child. So when you think about it, like when you're doing your work, when you're focusing, it doesn't help you when I'm interrupting every 5 seconds and saying, what are you doing? And quizzing and asking asking you to prove your knowledge every 5 minutes, you know. It doesn't help when I interrupt and I tell you I need this laptop and I snatch it away from you. It doesn't help when you're in the middle of working and I say we need to go right now. So my approach to play is giving kids not just the tools, but the space, and allowing them, creating an environment where they can thrive. So in the beginning, I used to look at it as something where I have to be involved, I have to create activities, I have to, you know, I was now scheduling and structuring play, but really they are the experts. When you step back and let kids have free time, don't overschedule them. It's not from school to after school activities to holiday to what, homework, and then straight to bed. Giving them that free time, you will see them thrive, you will see them learn how to socialize with each other, all these skills that they're not born with, it develops through play. So for me, that's why it's really important just to create that holistic environment for them to not only learn practical skills like math and science and things like that, but how to interact with others, how to persevere, how to be resilient, how to communicate their ideas and things like that.
Amazing. I like how you're saying, you know, giving that room to allow them to play and not structure things, because I think I went through a really difficult time at one point. I remember when I just had 2 kids and I was very much there to play with them, and I was always playing with them, and we'd always be painting, coloring books, etc. Then I feel like I had a 3rd kid and I was just so exhausted and I wasn't able to do any of these things with them anymore, and I just felt like screen, you know, like they need something to do, I can't do it with them, so I'm going to put a screen on. And I'm not against screens, I'm not saying that, I think they have their place. You know, currently we're now limiting our time on screens, and what I am also noticing is they actually go and play on their own, like they have all these games and this, like they have their own imagination on what they can do, and I don't need to structure everything. So that's something that I've been learning this year. It's taken me a bit of time. I mean, I have a 7, 5 and 2-year-old, but yeah, like I'm really discovering the fact that they are so capable of doing so much, and I don't need to do everything for them. Even though I used to get that phrase, like, let them be bored. Being bored is really good. I never really understood it because I always felt like I need to be there, and I'm so
then
exhausted.
it will be on you to
Exactly.
alleviate that boredom.
Exactly.
And yeah, I feel like it is difficult. It is difficult in the beginning when they rely on you. Like for me, I did a year of every single day I had activities set up for my child in the morning, afternoon, and lunch. Of course, all this stopped when I got a second child because how? In the middle of a pandemic, it's not going to happen. And what I realized is I had turned into the toy.
Yes.
So whenever I'm awake, what are we doing today? I had created a dependency on me. But the reality is, and this is what I find really unfortunate, is like a lot of parents then feel that, oh, I get messages, oh, I'm not able to do this for my child, and my child should come and live in your house and things like that. But the reality is, you are the best parent for your child. Your child is pretty capable for to do all these things. Occasionally, you're going to put on the screen to survive. It's understanding that you have bills, you're a whole human being with complex emotions, and you're not this child's everything. All you need to do is create an environment for them, and I promise you, they are experts in this area, better than you could ever be. I see ideas the kids come up with, and if I was involved, I would have put them in some form of a box of this is how this game is played and things like that. So just being able to let go, it was also a really big lesson for me after that.
Being able.
But I've seen a really big difference. Like I see them playing on their own, and I have no problem saying, no, I can't play with you right now. You know? Allowing myself to also do that and not think, oh my God, I've damaged them because they've said that when a child comes to ask you to play, it's because they really need to connect with you. No, I can't do it right now, and it's okay.
This is another thing with social media. Like when your child are coming to you, they need something. I'm like, I physically cannot do it all the time. It's impossible. So I'm also in that space where I'm also okay to be like, you know what, I actually don't want to. Or Olive with her Barbies. I really freaking hate playing Barbies, and that's the one thing she wants to do to connect. So, but at this point in time, really? Oh, really? I thought you loved them.
Yeah, I thought you loved them
I love not the process of building them, enjoying what's happening.
I get that.
You know, on that note, like, there is so much on social media, and we're all on social media. And, you know, the two of you especially, like, I'm not so active, but I look at your pages so much. But I think, like, especially maybe as a new mom, it can be so overwhelming because there's so much information. And I think the one message maybe is make it your own. Like, see what Zain is doing, see what Tatiana is doing, but figure out how to make it work for your family, contextualize it to your culture, and don't feel like you have to just do it one way. Right? Because it's just not going to work then. It's not feasible. It's not something that you're going to be able to keep up. She did it for a year. She wasn't going to be able to do it forever. Right? So to just understand that, okay, there's a lot of information, but you don't have to do it by the book. There is no book. There's no manual.
There is no book.
Just make it work for you.
Right. Exactly. And on the note of, you know, positive education and parent, like, can we talk about how you choose to parent your kids? Because that's something else that I'm really trying to do, you know, positive parenting. I guess, I don't know, there's so many terms online, gentle parenting, you know, I don't really know the right term, and I feel like people also misuse the term, at least from what I see, or what people think gentle parenting is. So maybe you can share a little bit about, like, the ways in which you've been raising your kids, and how's that working for you?
I don't know about you, but like, when Adam was born, I never thought, oh, what sort of parenting approach am I going to use? It was sort of like, okay, I've read a little bit about this, I've read a little bit about that. What's going to work for me right now? And that changed as he grew older. So I'm not so keen on the labels. Like, it doesn't matter to me whether this comes from positive parenting or gentle parenting or authority. For me, it's like, okay, what are the values that parenting model is sort of showing? So for me, the main ones are like kindness, respect, honesty, nurturing. And then this idea of, I do believe kids need boundaries. I'm not into like permissive parenting, but then boundaries through a lens of connection and not through a lens of trying to make you feel small. It's not punitive. It's not I'm right and you're wrong all the time. This thing where I'm like, actually, I learned so much from Adam every single day. You know, his ability to be like, oh, Mom, you were like totally mean to me a minute ago. You yelled and you shouted, but I love you so much. You know, I'm not holding on to things or just letting go. So for me, there isn't just one thing that I think, oh, this is how I parent. I think it changes depending on where he is, where I am. And then as I learn from other people, I'm like, oh, I'd like to try this. And if it doesn't work, it's okay. Like, we're not stuck to anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're not stuck. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I feel that so much. And the labels obviously also go with how much information you have. Like how you choose to parent, it depends on how much information you have. So for example, when I had my son and the terrific twos began, and I was like, what the hell is going on? Like, I knew this happens, but like this?
Yeah.
This? Yeah. And I took the approach I felt was gentle, because we grew up where you could be hit, all these things could happen. And with the information I had, the approach I was taking was gentle, you know. And it was naughty corner. Go for a timeout. And to this day, I'm just like, wow. Because I remember we did that once, and I didn't like how it felt. I didn't like that my child was facing this wall and like really trying to get to me, and but the books said I need to give him as much time as his age.
Age,
Yeah,
1 year. I mean, 1
But
minute.
it felt, it did not feel good, and just instinctually I could see something is off here, because his reaction to it was more, he wasn't sorry for whatever he had done. I don't even remember what it was. Maybe I was triggered, he yelled, or he threw something at me or whatever. He was more like, it was despair, it was confusion, it was all these things. And like she said, it's the values. So for me, I just realized this is not the type of home I want to have. I don't want him to be afraid of me. I don't want him to think I could just send him to a corner. So what other tools, what other ways? And that was the beginning of my kind of journey to understanding. Yes, I eventually stumbled on like gentle parenting and the big little feelings and spaces like that that give you actual tools. But that's when I really wanted to understand and filter out what works for us and what doesn't. So whereas the information I had at the time was, a timeout is really good, you know, it makes sure that those are the consequences, and I wanted to have boundaries, but how else can you apply them? And in the beginning, what I do, I'm sure all of you have come across the scripts of what to do if they do this, and come down to their level and hold their hand and look them in the eye and say it exactly like this. That's what I was doing. I was robotically until I had internalized it and knew how to flow with it. That's what I was doing. I was repeating what
Word
it said
for
on the
word,
scripts, because I didn't want whatever situation had happened. So I don't know about labels, but for me, it's the same thing. And now over time, I know I have a better understanding of their brain development, which I feel for every parent, you don't have to understand like the neuroscience, but understanding where they are allows you to have an approach that is from a point of like nurturing. That we are on the same team. It's not me versus the child. It allows you to filter out the noise that says your child should not be behaving like that, because you know, no, actually 2-year-olds, like at the play pod, what I tell parents is, don't worry, we expect them to bite, we expect them to not share, we expect them to push. We are not to shame them, it's more to guide them, because otherwise you'll be overwhelmed with, okay, I need to fix this child right now, and not look at it as a season of them trying to figure out, so social skills, people don't do this, how am I supposed to act?
No, I love that. Even the other day, my dad, because Nova is also now in terrific twos, but it actually genuinely is terrific, but she has her moments, you know. And the other day she had like this huge tantrum where she threw the ball, like, and you know, that's not Nova, but that's not Nova of one. So even my dad was like, hey, like, what's happening to Nova? You've never like, actually, you know, that's what happens when you start. But but I've never seen her behave like that. Like, something must be wrong. I'm like, no,
exactly, because that's the immediate thing is, I need to fix this. Something is wrong, and I must assert myself, and like, which is normal. You know?
And as a mom, I think you feel that pressure when someone's like, "Why is your child doing that?"
100%.
And you
And
know,
you're like, "Oh, I
like,
better try and fix the situation," because you think it's a reflection.
I think I've made it my personal mission to like have the look in the supermarket or whatever in public spaces. When parents have this moment, where it's fine.
It is what
it's fine.
It's okay.
You know, not looking at them like, can't be me or whatever.
I never let my child do that.
You know, I have gone out of my way to give you this. I'm not going to talk to you because you don't want to talk to anyone at that time.
You're going through it.
But like, reassurance for no one here cares.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
This is supposed to happen. And
Yeah.
yeah, because I feel like that usually pushes us and triggers us. How others view us
For
can trigger
sure.
us to kind of
Yeah.
stop it immediately.
Yeah.
And
That's actually when I feel like one of my worst parenting moments is when I feel that other people are looking at me.
Yeah.
So I'm reacting in a way because of what society's like, how they're looking at me, rather than how I know I should be reacting to my
Yeah.
kid. So I feel like those are the hardest situations for me. They're
For
throwing
sure.
a tantrum in public,
Yeah.
and I'm there like getting angry because I'm like, we can't do, like, look at how they're looking at
Yeah.
you, and like, you know, you start shaming your child. But really, I've learned to
Yeah.
block out that noise, because
And you know, it's so funny
Yeah.
because the things that like we think society needs us to do, like when we're being looked at, is the opposite of what our child needs. It's
Exactly.
literally like in the opposite direction.
yeah.
So while that, you know, parent who's judging you in the supermarket is expecting you to scold and punish and
Yeah.
have them be quiet, actually you're like, you still can't get that, you know, get your tantrum done with. It's okay, I'll wait.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right?
And do you
Yeah.
find social media has made that challenging for you because you're always in the supermarket in a way?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And not only that, like even online, you see people making fun of mums who are trying to be like, it's okay, I'm not getting you that, but you you have your tantrum.
Yeah.
So even on that, in that level, you see all this fun that people are making of
yeah.
you, essentially, even though it's not directed at you. But of course, that's how I'm parenting.
Yeah.
So I see this space all the time, and I'm just like, and yeah, you're right. Like as raising my kids on social media, like that's also another thing where I'm always constantly worried about what other people, how they view my
the
kids because of
judgments, yeah.
the judgments. When I know that I need to block out that noise. So there's like this balance that I'm trying to.
Yeah.
Yeah, because for me it is definitely, I want to create that community. I want someone who was like me, who was looking for all this information or just
Exactly.
like some validation that it is hard.
Yeah.
There's actually nothing you can do about it. It's hard.
You just have to push through,
yeah, that's
yeah.
what it is. But then striking a balance, and I don't feel like picking up the camera when I'm having a vulnerable moment. You know, I don't want to put my kids out there when they're having meltdowns and they're having a really difficult time. But I also don't want to portray that it's all
It's all
roses.
roses.
Exactly.
You know, the
Yes.
advice I gave you about coming down to their level,
Yeah, and then
and
it
that's how
seems
it works
too
out
easy
all the
then.
time.
Yeah.
Like I've learned not to be, I'm not triggered, and my kids are just perfect. And I don't want to give that side of
yeah.
things, but I also don't want to show
The
in
hard
real
sides.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think you've struck a really good balance because you kind of talk us through it and say, you know, this is the hard time I'm having, and I think it really helps people not fall into the same trap of feeling like everyone has this figured out.
Yeah.
And
Facts. In
Yeah.
fact, like that's why I love my community so much online, because when I share, firstly, it's really nice to be able to talk to people and have community be like, actually, me too. I was going through that today. So like
yeah.
that keeps me like strong, because sometimes I feel like even the people around me don't really understand me, but
Get it.
somebody online will. And then I'm also speaking to that mom, you know, who's going through that challenging time. So that also kind of keeps me going when in terms of sharing content.
Yeah.
And I feel like as long as I'm not sharing something that's like embarrassing to Olive or Marley
Yeah.
or Nova, something that they'll look back and be like, Mom, why would you share that? You know, yeah. I hope, at least, because you never know. You never know. So yeah, that balance has been hard. But like talking about this, has there been something in your parenting journey along the way of like how you're dealing with your kids that you feel that you've done wrong, or that you feel like, you know, maybe this was something that I wish I didn't go through? You've shared like
Yeah.
the naughty corner, which by the way,
Yeah.
I agree with you. I used to do that too because I thought that was the right thing, and then
Yeah.
I just felt like my kids were scared more so
Yeah.
than learning anything.
And for me, this is why like Play Academy and everything we do is there's nothing prescriptive. It's just information
Yeah.
for you to be able to make the right decisions. Because I feel like all parents want to do the best for their child.
Yeah.
It just now depends on that level of information you have
Yeah.
Yeah.
to be able to
Yeah.
do that
Sure.
right.
Yeah, but maybe Natasha, like,
Yeah.
I think I even discussed with you, like, even if to say my, like, there was a period of time where after the dad left where I felt like I wanted to be their friend
Yeah.
more than their parent, or that wasn't really what a decision I made, you know,
Consciously, yeah.
consciously, but it was just that I saw them going through so much pain that I was like, for sure they're not going to be getting any pain at home.
Yeah,
You know,
not
I'm not
from
going to
me.
say no.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
of course it's a yes. You know,
Yeah.
you're going through so much pain. Of course you can have 10 sweets a day. You know,
Yeah.
that's a silly one, but like just generally, I was more their friend
Yeah.
for a certain period of time, and then I started realizing, whoa, okay, this is having a very negative effect because you know, like these boundaries are being crossed, but because I don't have any boundaries right now,
Yeah.
you know. So like I realized that as much as I was doing the best I could in the season I was in, that's one part of my parenting journey that I'm like, oh damn, I wish I did that differently. Yeah.
God, I feel like I have those moments every day, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, today, the only way, like, we're having a battle with the pacifier, right? And so now everything I do is, if you don't get, you know, your butt into the car for school, I'm taking away your pacifier. And I hate it because I've resulted to just like threatening him constantly. But after trying for the first hour, then it's so easy to fall back into these old patterns.
Yeah.
And then half an hour later, I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. And then the next day I do it again. So it's like a constant back and forth conversation. It's not like you know this stuff and then everything changes.
Yeah.
It's really like a practice, and you're doing it over and over. And the more you do it, it's supposed to get easier.
Yeah.
Right? But it's hard. It's hard every day. Every day I'm like, shouldn't have said that. Shouldn't have done that. Like every day. Even if it's the space you work in, even if you're with kids all the time, you still feel like that. I don't think anyone has the perfect parenting journey. That's like a myth.
And then you have like the one incident you could have done differently. I think it's like
Yeah.
daily.
Really
I think
on the daily.
my thing is kind of, I'm really trying to move away from any statements that appear shaming. Like, you know the person who is notorious for drawing on the table. And yet you're going to be like, who did this? Who did this? You just want them to have this thing for it's me, and why did you? Of course they can't have an answer. They're 3 years old, because I don't have self-control. I kind of just did that. So breaking out of that, like, there's always every day where you feel like you could have done something differently, and accepting that you are human. You're not supposed to be a robot. And you can repair. It's not the end of the world. Like, you can keep telling them, I'm trying to do my best, and this is what I did wrong, and I shouldn't have done that, and I'm really sorry.
Yeah, repairing is such an important part of parenting. I think I discussed this also with Dr. Carol. I don't know about you guys, but I found it sometimes extremely difficult, because firstly,
especially when you're still mad and they come to you like
to say yes.
And so
your
technically this is
sorry.
when I should be repairing, but I'm genuinely not ready. I'm still angry, and you end up doing this thing like, I should also not have.
Yeah,
exactly.
But I think also because it's the way I was brought up, you know, like I would get silent treatment. So even I've had to really stop. Yeah. That's the hardest part for me as well, because I would be like, Mama, I'm sorry.
And they do
I'm just
that
like,
so immediately.
Yeah.
I'm not ready.
Yeah.
But I have to kind of like power through it, which is what parenting is. You also, like you said, I've never been a mom before. So I'm also figuring out my own triggers and things I have to overcome, which with adults, I've had this attitude of, you know what, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have to see you every day. I don't care. I have to raise them.
Yeah.
I am responsible for like setting the standard of how things are supposed to be. So while I have all the time in the world to keep building relationships with people outside, I have this one chance, or at least that's the overwhelming feeling I get to you know, I can't muck about. I have to actually.
Facts we can't muck about. Yeah, no, I feel that, and I think that's
so
the hardest part.
I remember once my son told me he had been upset, and my daughter doesn't want to be touched when she's upset. You give her space, and he's like the cuddler.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not particularly into like cuddling and physical contact, and okay, why are we holding hands? It's taking way too long. It's like, what is the 2 seconds? Hand holding. I don't get it. Anyway, so for him, it's after he's upset, he wants to cuddle. And he'd come, and obviously I thought I was doing a really good job of like overcoming my thing and saying, I can cuddle, until one day he said, no, I just want to cuddle with Dad. And I said, why? Because you just do it very fast, and then you say, are you done? And until that point, I did not realize that physically he can just like feel it when I'm done. Bless. So he hasn't been done whenever I'm done, but I'm like, I guess. So that was 3 minutes. How long is this supposed to take? Meanwhile, my husband can do this for like 30 minutes where they just sit there. So now, but what I told myself from that moment is my child feels comfortable enough to tell me, this is the reason that this is that. So since then, I've been practicing cuddling quite a bit, you know.
That's
just
so
telling
cute.
myself, keep holding until they let go. Don't reach for your phone.
Don't check the
20
time.
20 minutes of like, you know.
Oh my God,
Like
that's
certain
my
things that I
dream,
didn't even
Zain.
know
That's
I
like
was
my
gonna
dream.
struggle with.
Yeah,
It's like when you become a parent is when you realize this is actually not me. Meanwhile, my daughter is just like, okay, so you give me a shout when you're good. And she'll go to her room, 30 minutes, come back, and it's like, okay, now say sorry. I'm so sorry.
I love that.
Yeah.
That is Adam. He hates being touched, and I'm a cuddler. I'm like, come, I'll make you
Let's
feel
exchange
better.
Adams
He's
for
like, no.
some
For a
time.
day.
He's like, please,
Anyway.
let's cuddle. Addie's like, no. So when you guys are saying that Olive comes to you and says sorry, or Adam comes
Oh,
to you, I'm
yeah.
like, Adam doesn't apologize. He can
He's
wait
true,
me
though.
out. No, but he can wait me out. He's as stubborn as I am. Sometimes I'll be like, okay, I'll give him a minute to cool down. I'm counting down the minutes. The guy's like, I'm not done. 10 minutes later, he's still upset at me. 20 minutes later, he's still upset at me. So I'm like,
And
wow.
For me, the emotions come out, and I think it is so difficult to deal with Olive and Marley's emotions.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about girls, but they're not only just like moving around and jumping, and you have to be everywhere, but they also will give it to you like emotionally. And for me, I'm not ready. Yeah.
You
Sometimes
know,
Olive can tell me something,
yeah.
and I'm just like,
You know, I do want to, in my, like raising a boy and a girl, I've always tried to approach these things in a gender neutral environment, not have any,
biases.
assumptions
Oh,
or
yeah.
biases around it. I'm in sneakers and sweats most of the time. My daughter is all flowers and purple and pink and all these things, and that's her choice. But like what you said, I find that I'm seeing that with her as well.
What are you noticing?
It feels
They can speak to your soul. I don't know about you. but Olive can, it is very personal. She'll tell me something. Actually, both of them, and it's an insecurity I already have. So she'll tell me something in a way knowing, and she wants to make me feel as bad as I've made her feel.
Yeah.
So she'll be able to tell me something on a level that hurts me inside.
So she knows
it's
which
not just like,
buttons.
Ati, I'm slapping you on the...
but I feel like they're also 7 and 5, and I remember sharing about, which is another reason why I like to understand child development, is sharing about my son turning like 5.5 towards 6, and there was a sudden switch, and what they were calling the age of rudeness and everything, and if you're going through it on the double.
Yes, I think there's definitely a double, because not only is she a 17-year-old telling me things, like as when I was 17, how I would be talking to my... But I don't want to say it in a way to make it feel like she's a bad kid.
No,
there are moments
no.
that she just has this like maturity
Yeah.
to it. And
you're
then
like,
there's the
whoa.
age of rudeness. And I was so glad when you shared about it, because I was like, I am going through this hard.
I had to figure out that this is a real thing when there's one day after going through it, and like a week of just like everything I did, the way I blinked was wrong, and everything is just like constant onslaught.
I'm scared.
And no, I don't even, maybe it doesn't happen to everyone, but just knowing that this was normal was really helpful to me. So what I did is I thought, okay, what we need is connection, because also I was trying to figure out, is it I'm working too hard or I'm not as available or whatever. So let's have a one-on-one. And we drove out of town, and we are like an hour out of town, and I'm facing forward and just like tears streaming from my eyes, and I'm like, I need to turn this car around.
Because I absolutely love these seats. The fabric, the pattern, it also feels so soft. I absolutely love them. And in my ideal world, I'd have like this sophisticated home, like office space with these couches, this painting. In fact, like this entire setup is exactly what I'd want for my home office space.
It was just this feeling like, you're being bullied by your child, and it was the entire car ride going there. And again, goes back to expectations. My expectation was, I'd say we're having this one-on-one time, going out of town, and he's going to feel like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing. We're really connecting, and already we're having such a good time. But instead, like the onslaught continued, and I needed to be able to manage my own feelings, which I didn't do successfully. Because like at one point he said, you're so boring, you don't even have any friends, and no one even likes you. And tell me why, as a grown-up who's been on this earth more decades than him, I turned around and I'm like, I have so many friends, and Auntie Nani, Mama Nani, and even I was invited to. I said, what the hell are you doing? Why am I arguing with
With a 5-year-old.
about my social life, you know. But yeah, it can get pretty difficult, and that's the thing with the seasons and the phases. So I think of everything, it's just also not beating yourself up about it, because you have to wake up the next day and do it all over again, and you know, you will make mistakes, and being able to also extend that to them, that they are not meant to be perfect.
Exactly.
You know, when you're talking, it's reminding me of this mom who was sharing online who said, just remember, you don't have to have the last word. It's so tempting to want to have the last word with your kids, to be like, no, I've said this and now the conversation is over. But to just let them have the last word, and for you to just be like, okay.
That is so hard, and I'm practicing it daily, but it is.
It's so
that's where
hard.
because I said so comes in, you know?
You know? And I mean, you're running through all the things that you could have said in your head, but you're like, okay, let them just have a hard word. Because a lot of the last word, because a lot of it comes down to like this fight for autonomy and independence. And why are you controlling my life? And you're not cool. And do you know what their mom does? And but it's just a phase, right? So to just be like, okay.
Also, why did people make it seem like this happens in teenagehood? Like,
it's
smooth sailing between 2, after 2 to teenager, it's just like breezy.
And they're just playing outside.
At 30, anyway.
One of the things I wish parents knew before you become a parent, you know, like that.
But can they really know? Can someone really know?
You just tell them it's hard from the get-go till the day you die. The day
I mean, your mom said it doesn't end, so basically it's just
She reminds me all the time. Every day when she has a chance, she'll remind me it doesn't get easier.
Someone who's considering having kids right now, we've kind of just swayed them. It's so magical.
No, I mean, it's great.
It's amazing.
Fantastic.
But it's hard.
So how has like the way you were brought up influenced your parenting? Or has it? For me, it definitely had. Another thing that I did was go completely different than what my mom did. And I've had this conversation with her, so I'm not shaming anyone. Like, me and my mom are really close, but the way I was raised, like it was like not military, but like my mom was really Kali, and I feel like at one point I wanted to be the complete opposite, and then I realized actually there's a balance to be struck here in the middle.
So I didn't grow up in like a gentle parenting household. It was definitely a household where expectations were high, academically anyway, the company you kept, the way you like presented yourself in public, all those things, the expectations were very high. And to some extent it was very strict, and it was fear-based. So my dad just had to look at me, and I knew I've crossed the line, I'm in trouble, I've disappointed him, and the tears would just start, right? And so I was quite conscious of the fact I didn't want Adam to be scared of me. So that's the first thing. But the other thing my dad did, which I think was amazing, he gave us so much independence. As strict as he was, it was very much like, these are your choices to make in life. And he started early. So what subjects are you going to do in school? Which university are you going to go to? How are you going to apply? You want to start a business venture. And he had strong opinions about these things. But it was like, these are my opinions. You do what you want to do, and you have to deal with the consequences of that. Now, as like a teenager or an early like young adult, that's like quite daunting when you're like, I just want some guidance, I want some validation. But looking back, I'm like, oh, that was pretty cool. Like, he trusted me to make mistakes, to fail, and to be able to pick myself up. So I really appreciate that. So that's something I would like to take forward. Maybe not in such a harsh way, but yeah, I think it shaped me. It made me quite resilient.
Amazing. I love that. Yeah. That's interesting that you would look at it like, oh, I wanted more guidance, when some people are also on the other side of that, maybe looking at it like, oh, I wish they would give me
more independence.
I mean,
we always want what we
don't have. I had independence in the sense that I knew what to say to get what I wanted. So I didn't necessarily grow up always being honest about where I was or what I was doing. Sorry, like I know people in my family's listening to this. But no, I knew that the only way I was going to get to do what I was going to do, to be honest, was if I lied to a certain degree. So, okay, I'm going for dinner. No, I'm actually not. I'm somewhere else. I'm hanging out. I'm partying, whatever it was, right? But because I knew I couldn't be honest. So again, it was like, I don't want Adam to be scared of me. I want him to be able to come to me. And even if he can't come to me, I want him to know that there are people around him who are always going to accept him as is. Like, no matter what, you are going to be belonging in our family.
Amazing.
So whether that's with me, his grandma, his aunts, his uncle, it doesn't matter. But I want him to always feel like I don't have to lie. I don't have to hide who I am. I don't have to,
Yeah.
hide what I want to do, if this is my passion or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Talking about, just having a parent that you can be honest with. That was my dad for me also growing up. And I just remember I think there was one time that I lied about partying, once, because I was always able to talk to him about anything.
Yeah.
There was one time, and the only thing he told me was, I'm really disappointed in you. And I just remember that like hurting me more than like life itself. Like my life was over. And I just remember, and I mean, like I was a teenager. How can, I mean, I don't care if you're disappointed, but really like, that was the worst day of my life, and to date I remember that. But what I really appreciated about my dad was that I was able to talk to him about anything. In fact, he would be the one to take me to the club, because he knew like my friends were going out. So he would be there taking me, waiting outside with his friends, then he'd take me home. And like parties that I was at where everyone was too scared to call their parents because something has gone bad, I would be able to just pick up the phone and call my dad, and
That's amazing.
And to date, even if there's anything wrong in my life, like he's just always the first person I want to call, even though